All right, so we're sitting down here for a little extra talk. This is its own segment outside of our world building experiences. And I thought that it would be neat, especially since we're new to the social media platform, as a duo is trying to create a brand, is trying to create something new and fun and unique, and honestly just having fun with a buddy and being ourselves, But since, hey, 99.99 repeating % of people that are going to look at this have no idea who we are.
Right.
I thought it would be fun to do a very short form podcast version of how we tick, how we think, what inspires us, how do we keep inspired, what's our day-to-day life look like, just a bunch of neat little random things that we could do. And I wanted to keep it in a very short, digestible format because the internet and the world is filled with a bajillion guys trying to be Joe Rogan to sit around and talk for 2 hours and realizing that no one wants to sit around and listen to you talk for 2 hours.
Yeah.
But maybe 10 minutes. So anyways, that's what this is.
Mm-hmm.
Getting to know us. Our endeavor, our brand is basically revolving around and associated with being creative. So I'm going to ask us both the same question, but since this is my idea, it's only right that I have to start it. Right?
Fair is fair.
When did I realize I was going to be a guitar player? You have to flash back many moons ago to when I was 12 years old. Barely 12, a little bit older than 12, kind of foggy on the exact timeline. I think I had just turned 12 because it was in the summer months and I was in my dad's Ford pickup truck coming back from the local grocery store. Pause that real quick. I was homeschooled, so were you.
Mm-hmm.
That'll come up quite a bit. The lockdown days, that doesn't actually seem too weird anymore,
Right,
so that's pretty cool.
We were normal before it was cool.
Yeah, before we had to wear masks everywhere we went. But all kidding on that aside, through homeschooling, I had to play keyboard. My mom wanted that to be part of it, music. So music had been a part of my life at this point in time for 3, almost 4 years. So I wasn't completely ignorant to the world of music. It just didn't really grab me. I did it because I liked the accolades and positive reinforcement and feedback from my parents. Oh neat, he can play, the famous section from Ode to Joy in the most simplest way possible on the keyboard,
Right.
And it was neat and showing grandma and grandpa and the likes. So that had been going on in my world, but this life-changing event that basically pushed me into the world of metal music and electric guitar, and which transferred over to me learning bass guitar out of necessity and the drums out of necessity and picking up vocals and taking vocal lessons and learning all of the aspects of music and then doing music production and getting me into my band and allowing me to play overseas. And what blossomed all of that was a truck trip. In the Midwest, it's a truck trip.
Yeah, it is.
Windows down in the red Ford, coming back from the grocery store, KC95 on. I can't tell you how many times KC95 has been on in my life. And it was just on this time, but something about this day, man. There was something tickling in the ether. And Sad But True from Metallica came on. Now at this point in time, I was kind of behind the curve. I was listening to music that was older than me, and in some circumstances considerably older than me, and this was the case in this circumstance, that I was a little like a generation behind on my music, but it didn't bother me. But Metallica Sad But True came on, and I was like stoked. I heard the introduction, I heard the way the guitars came roaring in after it does the intro, and then the drum fill and the verse comes in, and you just hear the down tuned, because they were tuned a whole step down. They're in D standard, and they just come in chugging in on that D, and that sound in particular, right on that beginning of that verse riff, I was like, whatever that is, I have to know how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what started my whole journey. It was that moment of my life. I will never forget it, and it was pretty powerful. And so that was the catalyst to my whole endeavor onto being, the musician that I am today, and in being involved in music production and still playing in a band. So what was the Kyle Durrell moment? What was it? Was it a Saturday morning cartoon? Was it a sketchbook? Was it an event? What was your Ford F-150 sad but true Metallica moment?
So it's funny, I can still remember mine really clearly. So as a kid growing up, obviously like I've talked about a little bit so far in our project, I loved Saturday morning cartoons. Every kid kind of likes cartoons, but to me, I just thought I would just get sucked in, and the visuals always like grabbed me. And I loved comic books. I loved, like every kid loves coloring and stuff like that. But then I hit this point like 5, 6, and 7 where, I don't know, I was focused on becoming a professional baseball player. And then I just remember specifically, like still loving that stuff, but I remember specifically my sister had this like book, and I don't know why I can still see parts of this book, and maybe sometime I'll find it and I'll bring it back and show everybody. But it was a book about a dog that, and it's this little dog that gets like, there's a tornado that hits the town and there's all this stuff going on, and I don't remember why, but the dog's like traversing this neighborhood and there's all this tornado damage and stuff, and I think it was supposed to teach little kids like, be careful in tornadoes in a fun kind of like safe way. But I remember my sister with just a pencil and a piece of notebook paper like drew the dog, like she drew it and it looked really good. And I remember just seeing it, and for some reason in my brain it finally clicked that what I was seeing in that book could be created by somebody. So I saw her do that, and then immediately the first thing I thought was, because I used to have my dad would always get the Sunday paper. He would always go to a gas station, get the Sunday paper, and I would bug him to, like, he would read through it and he would give me the comic section until he was done with it, because he didn't like me tearing through and messing up the whole paper. So I would wait for it, and then he would give me the comics and I would read from them. And I remember specifically the one I wanted there was a small strip of Spider-Man, and every week I would read what was going on with Spider-Man. And for some reason, when I saw that dog that my sister drew, I realized in my head, I can draw Spider-Man. And then I can make him like do the things, because my big thing was not so much what happened to Spider-Man, but every now and then there'd be this cool panel of him swinging or fighting somebody, and I just loved it. And I would just sit there and I'd look at it. And then I realized, I can make those. And so then I started drawing. I wasn't very good about it. And it's funny, my sister still jokes that she used to be better than me at drawing, but she quit when I got better than her. But that was kind of my catalyst moment, was just seeing her do that. And then something clicked in my head, like, if she can draw her book, I can draw my comics. And so I just started drawing comic book characters, and I started drawing superheroes, and that formed into wanting to paint and do all these other things. And then realizing, later in high school that, hey, if you can do this stuff, you might be really good for a career that's trying to emulate some of that creativity into a more corporate setting. So I was like, hey, I'll go to college for that. And so that's kind of like, it all started with seeing my sister draw that little dog from that tornado book.
And then Spider-Man.
And then me drawing Spider-Man. Man,
that's cool. Hey, thanks for sharing your story on that.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure I really heard the whole thing until just now.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool, like, to hear the origins and all that. So that's it. That's as far as I want to take it this time. We're very wordy dudes.
Yeah.
This could have gone on for a long time. But we're going to end that here. I want to keep it short and sweet, so that way you tune in next time to hear what else we'll talk about. So we're going to keep expanding the journey of us being creative, and who knows, next time it might just be some advice. Next time it might be, don't do this, do this. What we wish we knew when we were coming up. Or it might be a continuation of our stories. So until then, hey, stay classy.